Stacy. Stacy, do you want to say just a quick word about yourself?
My name is Stacy Faraci. I have been selling on eBay for about a decade and a half. At some points full time and sometimes just a hobby. And I love luxury and vintage fashion.
And Stacy is an expert on, oops, that is for later. Stacy is an expert on a number of different niches that we want to learn from her about. So today we are talking all about luxury fashion, but I will be surprised if you don't see her again in the future. So we're already looking forward to that. Yes. And for next week, we have on deck a show all about sewing patterns. So this is something that I enjoy selling and thrifting, and we will be talking all about what to look for, which ones sell high, all the usual stuff we cover in our deep dive. So that'll be really fun.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Nadine, I think you're the one who actually got me into buying.
Well, I was selling a lot more and then I kind of stopped, but now I'm listing some again. So we'll talk about that next week. Yeah.
But before we dive into our main segment today, all three of us are wearing something thrifted. So Stacy, as our honored guest, would you like to go first?
I am wearing a vintage Lanvin dress from the 1970s. I found this 7 or 8 years ago. And you actually probably wouldn't know it is Lanvin upon first look because it's made of polyester.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's made of the weirdest 70s polyester ever. But I took it home. I was in love with it and looked it up way back when and learned all about these dresses that Lanvin made in the 70s out of polyester. And they were super popular. All very graphic, geometric. This one has a hem on it
that's so pretty.
And then it's a polka dot pattern with some green in there. And I've never been able to get rid of it.
So. I would definitely, especially it's like your size, you can't sell that. It's like fake.
Well, it's like the really flattering size. So I've been able to wear it like pre-baby and, all the way up way past pre-baby. So,
oh yeah, that's magic.
Yes, it's just one of those wonderful pieces. And I understand why they're so popular and beloved.
That's very cool. Yeah, I know in the past, I think on our vintage show, we talked about how there is a certain point where man-made materials were new and exciting and were actually a selling point. So I could see where maybe in the 70s, even the designers were getting in on it and selling some of those materials that now would, make no sense. But
yeah.
And Nadine, what are you wearing?
Unmute myself. Kids were just in here. So I am wearing nothing. Well, I have a couple of high-end things. This is actually Missoni for Target. So although it's considered, a luxury brand, it is the Missoni for Target. And this is a thrifted sweater. It's just DKNY. So nothing like, extravagant. But my Manny behind me is actually wearing, you can see her. She's wearing a Prada sweater.
Ooh.
And she is wearing the brand is Faraci, or it's an Italian brand. It's not like I can tell it's luxury. And I did look it up and, they do go for a little bit. But Declan, stop it. Declan, really? Sorry about that. Yeah.
We're a kid-friendly show.
He's trying to be obnoxious.
They're done that.
He's trying to be obnoxious. But anyway, and I also have a Louis Vuitton bag, but I'm not it's either a good repro or it is. So that's something that I need to actually ask Stacy about because I'm on the fence about it. It's definitely vintage, but
pop quiz.
I'm down. I love it.
Yes. So, and then I also have Prada sunglasses.
Ooh, those are nice.
Yes. Wish it was sunny so I could actually wear them outside. I am keeping
here.
And I have on Prada kitten heels.
Oh, those are cute.
Yes.
Those are amazing.
Yeah, I'm on the fence about selling these as well. Like I have them listed right now, but they fit me so well. They're actually comfortable. So That is
What's
Yeah, those are hard to part with.
yes.
So I'm not wearing anything designer because as I know I talked about this before, but I don't think I got into all the like really horrific details of when we moved and I had a box stolen of my stuff and it was all of my best designer thrift finds.
Oh my gosh.
I know. It was like real, like of all the boxes, they had to pick that one. And I didn't even realize I had put them all in the same box, but I've been like packing up my closet and doing it sort of by section. And all of my nicer clothes that I wear less often were all together. And those were all my like, it was probably a decade of, I had a Marnie dress that I loved that I would have probably worn today. And
Oh, I love Marnie.
me too. Anyway, so yeah, I'm wearing Free People. And I think I've worn this before. It's one of my favorite tops. It's actually an extra small, but because
it's super cute. It's like this
it's so large.
Yeah.
And then these are Anthropology Pilcrow letterpress that at the beginning of quarantine were a little big, and now they fit me. So
13-15.
Yes, that's
a good one.
But hey, now my pants fit me. And I actually bought these on Poshmark, so it was really nice to, I was looking for this style. They're boot cut, and
it's so funny. Just yesterday I was going through my death pile and I was looking for something, and I actually found a pair of Pilcrow jeans that I just pulled out, and I'm ready to list them. So
yeah, it's not a super high selling brand, but
but it's decent. It's like a bread and butter, good, consistent brand.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So yeah, that's my non-high-end outfit for today.
Anthropology sounds.
I love Anthropology. There was definitely a time in my life when I dreamed of being able to afford like an all Anthropology wardrobe. And now that I thrift all my clothing, I could have an all Anthropology wardrobe.
Yes. And that's the beauty of thrifting. We can also have all luxury wardrobes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's so nice to have those. I have sold so many luxury items. When I thought about what I was going to wear, I thought, gosh, sold my Gucci scarf, sold my Chanel shoes, sold, like all these things that I've wonderful luxury items that I've sold. I had a beautiful Valentino. You remember that Valentino shawl that I
do remember.
I sold that for about $150, I think, and it had some flaws in it, and just I love selling luxury. So
and fun. Is there anything better than the thrill of being in the thrift store, coming across that high-end piece that's like, I could never even step into the store where this was first sold because I don't look like someone who could afford it.
Yes.
But here it is for $5, like,
yeah,
best feeling ever. Okay. We also have Stacy in on our thrifted home decor items this week. So, Stacy, would you like to do the honors?
I would. So mine is a recent addition to our home. It is a vintage Hello Kitty plush. I love Hello Kitty. Love, love, love Hello Kitty. And I actually pulled this out of the stuffed animal bin as I found a doll in a vintage child's dress that was worth a pretty penny. So I found that underneath it, and I'm like, oh, I know that's an older one. I got to bring it home. Sat on our bookshelf for a few weeks, and then we got a new record storage, and now she lives there holding up one shelf of our records. But she's one of the earliest ones, I came to find out. Her tag, wow. You can see let's see here. How are we doing this? Boop. The old Sanrio logo.
Oh, okay.
1976.
I definitely remember that logo on some of my stuffed animals growing up. So are you telling me that I had collectible stuffed animals that got probably sold at a yard sale?
Uh-huh. I looked up the price on her, and I haven't told my husband because he'd say seller. But I think she's around a $70 plush.
Wow.
But I love her too much. So
that's so funny. I also have an affection for Hello Kitty, and my youngest son, actually loves Hello Kitty. He stole my Hello Kitty blanket, and that's like his like if he doesn't have it, he can't sleep at night now. So
that's so sweet.
Yeah. So and also I remember think I'm older than both of you, but I remember back in like probably the 80s, like I remember there was a store in the mall called Pandemonium. And you know what I'm talking about, Stacy?
We had Sanrio stores, so
Yeah,
I think
so it was all like Sanrio stuff, and it was all of those characters, and there was a ton of Hello Kitty. And I remember I used to love going in there, and I still have, probably tucked away somewhere in my parents' house. I still have, some of the little pencil pouches and all that kind of stuff. It was just such cute stuff.
Yes, yes, I love that stuff.
You should.
My daughter super girly, which I'm a little disappointed about, but so I still collect just myself though.
You should check out my Depop closet because I have a Hello Kitty
No,
dress.
you shouldn't.
Declan, stop. Really? He's in a mood today. I apologize about that.
Mommy.
Okay, I'm gonna put myself on mute and answer the question.
I'll go ahead. So a while back, my mom found a estate sale in her neighborhood, and the story behind it was the woman who passed away, and she had been in her 90s and lived like a long, amazing life. And the daughter, who herself was like 70, said that her mom hadn't bought anything new in the past like 30, 40 years because she decided she had enough stuff. So everything at the estate sale was like vintage and awesome. And so my mom picked up a few things for me, including this set of 3 enamel kitchen canisters. And I haven't used them because I don't bake that much, so I don't have like a lot of extra flour. But I realized that they are perfect for using as planters, and they're just such great colors. And so I'm going to put the tops away somewhere, maybe reuse them for something else. And then the smaller ones will go in like macrame hangers, which, I have bought the cord for and need to make, but I don't think it's too hard. Watch some YouTube videos on that. And then this one I might use for like maybe get like a mid-century stand for or something for a bigger plant. But they're perfect, durable. They're not in perfect condition, but for a planter, I think that's they're just the right thing for in case it gets any damage from water or dirt or something. I'm not
the colors.
Yeah,
The colors are incredible.
Yeah. So, and these are not colors that we have a ton in the house, but I to like build a color palette around these. I love the orange, especially. It's a color I love, but I don't usually buy things in this color because it's so intense. But every time I see it, it like makes me happy. So maybe I need to introduce more orange into my life.
Maybe it goes so well with the turquoise.
Yeah, and this is also like it's not. Yeah, you're Miss Sony's.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You match me.
Yeah,
well,
I didn't even think
those
about that.
colors go so well because they're complementary. And
Yeah, and then with the neutral to tone it down, you can definitely see how they, planned out this set to work together. So
Love it.
It's lovely.
So my home decor item is. It's funny because Jason's actually in the chat, and he actually did thrift this for me because I do love Audrey Hepburn, and it kind of is on par with our topic today. It says, "My look is attainable. Women can look like Audrey Hepburn by buying the large sunglasses and the little sleeveless dresses." So it's on par. And he paid $3.99 at Savers for it.
Good deal.
Yes. So he gifted me that, but that was from Savers, yes. And it wasn't anything like it's just because I love Audrey Hepburn, so that's part of and I have my Kuwait Starbucks mug.
Oh, fun.
So yeah, I love this mug because it's just kind of like an exotic one. It's a place that I would love to see, and I probably never will. So I have
But you have something that came.
Yes, from an exotic destination.
Very cool. Okay, I think. Oh, we do have another special segment.
Yes, we do, and our guest is going to take this segment. It's really funny because last night, now what she's going to talk about last night on Thrifty Business, I happened to be tuning in, and Angela Ritchie, who has to do with this story, was talking about this, and she was talking about Stacy, and I was like, wait a minute, Stacy's our guest tomorrow, and she's gonna be talking about this. So I didn't realize that the item that you're gonna be talking about was actually purchased from Angela. So it goes full circle, TT thrifting board and Thrifty Business, and very cool. So
yeah, so if you want the story of the person who sold this item, you can watch the replay of
Thrifty Business from last night. Yeah.
Night. So very cool.
Yeah. So I guess I'm going to talk about this girl who is a Blythe doll from 1972. These were made for just about a year and were not very popular. The creator of them made them to look like Betty Boop, thinking that it was very kitsch, and had the idea to have her be able to change her eyes, like her daughter wanted to change her color contacts, which I had no idea were a thing in the 70s, but they were.
I did not know that either.
So she designed this doll with the mechanism to change her eyes.
That's so cool.
And Kenner made them out of Cincinnati, and they fell off like a million other toy lines that just died. In 99, a fashion photographer by the name of Gina Garan out of New York found one and fell in love with her and began to photograph her. And she worked for a company, I believe, that has connections to Japan. Long story short, she did a lot of work with Blythe in the fashion world, and actually got together with Tomy and made her again. And they started producing new Blythes in 2000, and they shot off like a rocket. So for about the last 20 years, she's hit the doll scene, and the original Kenner ones are incredibly desirable. So I got tagged in Instagram last week, 2 weeks ago, about this girl from Angela, and she was so kind, and she let me make an offer, because she is the only one I need to complete my Kenner collection. I have all the different hair colors now. So she let me make an offer, her seller accepted it, and she came to live with me.
That's so cool.
That is such a great story.
So how many dolls are in the complete collection? Like how many hair colors are there?
There's technically 4. There's a raven, which is a very dark brown, and a brunette. I have a raven. I don't really feel like I need a brunette. Then there's a redhead and the blonde. So 4 total.
And they all can change their eye color.
Yeah. Yes.
So cool.
That's like the keystone of them. All the new ones change their eye color. They look very similar. There's hundreds of new ones. But they still sell for very good money. Very, very good money.
And I know I saw you posting on Facebook about how you did some restoration to her and kind of brought her back to life. And so if someone finds one of these dolls, even in really poor condition, they're still desirable, correct?
Absolutely. Like even you'll see them come on eBay sometimes, and it's just the head. And depending on what doll collectors like out of her, or what Blythe collectors like out of her, is very peculiar. So it's hard to tell which ones are worth a lot of money and which ones aren't, because the way their faces are painted is very interesting. Like some of them have these big bright cheeks, and they sell for a fortune. Even just a head, if her makeup is still good and very intense, could sell for much, much more than a doll in very good condition with her whole body. So yes, even in the poorest condition, they will sell. They will sell always, always, always.
Wow. I love her face, big eyes. So it's a little anime-esque. You said that it was associated with a Japanese company.
Yes.
Yeah.
They've been making them in Japan now for 20 years. And I think that's where it all started, but it kind of like there's collectors all over the world now.
Yes, she definitely has an anime vibe. And you were also saying something about your parents had sold one.
Yes.
But
My parents were antiquers, thrifters, sellers, all that stuff. And they actually lived in Cincinnati. And right about the time when Blythe was coming back, I wouldn't be able to put together the pieces until much later. They found one for a few dollars, a redhead, at a yard sale, and sold her on eBay instantly to Japan for some obnoxious number, like
wow.
$1,500.
Wait, did you say $1,500?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. And that was years ago.
Yes, that was probably 2001, right? Like I said,
Wow.
right when it first like really shot off.
So they really timed it right. Would it still go for that much today, or go for more, go for less?
They could.
Yeah.
Some of them do go very high, like some of the rare colors, like a redhead with really good face makeup. She could go probably $1,500. So the market is still very hot for them. But they found her, and I was in love with her for a really long time, and never laid eyes on another one until I picked up this book in a Barnes and Noble, which actually ties into luxury fashion
Cool.
because through Gina Garan and her connections with the world, she's very deeply into like the fashion drag scene now and stuff. She started doing this project with companies, with fashion companies, to make dolls. This one here is Arata. There's Prada in here. She did these contests in the early 2000s. Izzy Miyake, Please Please, where these giant design houses would make a doll and
Wow.
auction them off for charity. So I found this book and fell back in love and finally got my first doll about years ago.
So this ties in. That's amazing how it ties in full circle with our topic today too.
Yes.
That is crazy. I love her. Now I want a redhead one.
Oh yeah.
I want one.
They're so fun. I'll show you. I'll send you pictures of my
Oh
redhead.
my gosh, I want a redhead with green eyes. I guess her eyes would change though. But.
Yep.
But you
Yep,
can make
that
them
would be
green.
nice.
Oh wow. Yes, I want that.
That's so cool.
So funny. And I don't get to have you know, that's a wonderful story, but you made me want one now. And I don't get to have, you know, a lot of dolls because I do have boys. Although,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes they like the Care Bears and my youngest likes the Hello Kitty, but I don't get dolls.
And I was never a doll person.
Does your daughter
Now.
does your daughter want to steal any of those?
She likes to pull the ice, like do the thing, but she's not really into dolls. She's into calico critters.
Yes, I know. I know from your post, yes, that she's obsessed with those.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So no, they're all mine. She likes to pull the eyes and click them, but that's about it.
It does sound like fun.
Yep.
Okay, so that's a great segue into our main topic today, which is luxury fashion. And I know we have a ton of questions to ask Stacy. If you're in the chat currently, thank you for watching live, first of all. And second, if you do have a question, you know, feel free to pop it in the chat and we can bring it up and ask Stacy for her expert opinion. So, Stacy, I know you already said a little bit about yourself, but if you want to go into more detail, like how did you get into luxury? How did you get into thrifting? What was your origin story, your first big find that got you hooked, that kind of thing?
Well, so my parents have always been thrifters and resellers and going to flea markets, all that fun stuff. I collected and still kind of collect Breyer model horses and porcelain horse figurines, and not as much anymore, but I did that all growing up. And when I moved up to Massachusetts with my husband, we used to go thrifting and antiquing and all of that stuff, looking for horses, and he collects video games and all of that. But the flea market in the area we lived in was very affluent. So I got to look at a lot of these things every weekend at the flea market. I mean, to the point where I remember looking at a stack of Hermes boxes and walking away from them. Like just the hindsight of it was so peculiar. But I got to look at all these things on such a regular basis that I got a feel for them. And I started, purchasing things that I liked because I have always liked fashion. And I, collected a little bit and resold a little bit on eBay to make things meet, but I didn't sell a lot of fashion. About 10 years ago, we moved to Kentucky, and I wasn't able to keep a 9-to-5 job. I have chronic migraines and fibromyalgia and just have never been able to work that. And when we moved, we decided that I was going to stay home and, be a housewife. We were going to start our family, all that stuff. But shortly after we went, we, started thrifting, and I was flicking through a rack at Goodwill, and I found like 3 or 4 really nice DKNY sweaters, and they were super stylish and they looked brand new. And I go, I bet I can sell these. And he's like, yeah, go home and try. So I took a few things and I flipped it, and it was in like December of that year. They sold right away. And I went back again and did it again and did really well with it. So January 1st of that year, I incorporated a business. And I did that for 5 years. Then I had my daughter just about 5 years ago, and she has cerebral palsy and autism, so I have not had time for it. So I shut my business down, and I do it part-time still, but I miss it. I miss doing it full-time. And yeah, so now I just do a lot of thrifting when she's at school, and I love finding luxury items when I'm lucky enough to. And it's just, that's what I do now.
So where do you usually find your luxury items? I know you had mentioned that you grew up with the high-end
Yes.
flea markets in an affluent area. And do you go to stores in high-end neighborhoods only, or do you find your luxury items everywhere? Do you go to, sorry about that, thrift stores or consignment shops? Are there other kind of boutique stores that you go to, or?
So in central Kentucky, where I live, Lexington, the only thrift store, we have 2 Salvation Armies and Goodwill, and that's it. No flea markets, nothing. So almost all of my thrifting comes through Goodwill. I do Salvation Army every once in a while, but they don't have very nice stuff. So everything for the most part comes from Goodwill. We have vendor malls that are kind of in between a hillbilly flea market and an antique mall.
I've been to something similar in Louisville, so I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Peddler's Mall.
Yeah. Where
Yeah.
one stand is like amazing, all like vintage and antique, and then the next one is like a couponer who's selling all of their like free stuff, and then the next one is just like junk, and it's like, but that's what makes it so much fun, because you just don't know what you're gonna find.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I found really great stuff in there, like every once in a blue moon. Like I found a Longchamp La Piage bag there the last time for $5. Like, but then, there's nothing there for a year. So almost everything comes from Goodwill. I do some sourcing from a local consignment shop that posts online. If I happen to see they have something really good, really cheap, I buy it and I flip it. But almost everything's from Goodwill.
So that's great proof that like you don't have to have some special hookup to get some of these items. It's just persistence, right? So I'm guessing you probably go pretty frequently to find the right stuff.
Yes. So my daughter's in preschool. She's been for 2 years. And this last year, I was going just about every day to hit 3 or 4 in like the 3-hour block that she would be at school. So yeah, I do it before this Corona junk, probably 4 or 5 times a week. And none of them are in very great neighborhoods. middle class or better, and it's still there. It's still there.
Yeah, that's one thing that Naya and I have always found in the Philly area is that we will go into neighborhoods that, you know, are known for being, oh no, Nay, your mannequin is.
I know. I have a child and a dog behind
Oh,
it.
okay. It's kind of funny to watch it like.
I know. I'm like, it's going down. Poor girl.
We'll go into neighborhoods in Philly that most people try to avoid and are known for being more dangerous, and have never experienced anything awful, and everyone's very sweet and nice, and the thrift stores are full of stuff that is super high end.
We've gone into some incredibly, like, you know, not desirable, you know, and people are nice. There's, yeah, everything's. Remember when we used to go, the one in Lola, and it's affectionately nicknamed Heroin Town.
I mean, it is, yeah. Like I will say that we definitely stepped over some needles and stuff.
Yeah, it was like literally. That's like, sadly, it's because it's a very blighted area of Philadelphia, but it is, you know, the heroin capital of probably the East Coast. And there was a thrift store there. It was a gem. It closed down, but it was like a diamond in the rough.
They would do, I think it was like Wednesday or something was half off day. The whole store would be half off, and it would be a madhouse, and you have to fight for a cart. But then we found
high-end stuff. I mean, I would find Prada there, and we found some amazing stuff there.
Remember, like a pair of Armani pants I got that were new with tags from Neiman Marcus and still had like the $850 tag on them. And I think I paid $250 because they were half off.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
So yeah, Jason is saying that we went, Jason and I remember one of the first times that he came to Philly, we went to, it was in West Philly. I think it was in West Philly somewhere. But it was, you know how West Philly is, Lola. So yeah, so it wasn't like it was, and the thrift store itself had a barbed wire fence around it, like to keep the people from.
That sounds awesome.
Yes. So it was, and it was in the middle of, and I was like, and Jason's like, oh, you've never been here? Like, no, never been thrifting over here. But we found some amazing stuff, and we went back to it again when he came into town again, found some amazing stuff in there. And again, people are nice, you know, it's just, and a lot of times too, in those types of stores, not always, but I think a lot of times, a lot of people are shopping for themselves. So they're not looking for those luxury items necessarily. They're looking for things for their kids, things for themselves. And so the luxury items are I think they're more often overlooked. Do you think so too?
Especially when they're like vintage and not current styles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Less competition for them.
Definitely. So
that's been my experience too. I mean, my daughter had therapy from when she was very little in very close to like one of the worst neighborhoods in Lexington. But there's a Salvation Army down there, and we would pop over there after her therapy. And, you know, I know that most people wouldn't take their 1 or 2 year old by themselves in this neighborhood, but it was nothing was wrong with it. They had lovely things. The people were wonderful. I think there's a lot of prejudice around some areas.
Definitely. And, you know, some of those areas, just because they have the bad stereotype, and they do, you know, sometimes have crime and whatnot, but there's some great people that live there too. You know, there's a lot of great people there. And, you know, do you know the one in Philly too, Lola, that's attached to the methadone clinic in West Philly? Goodwill, and it's
really very often,
and it's next door to a methadone clinic, like literally attached. Like the two buildings are like standalone, and yeah. So, but I found great stuff in there too, you know, and
it wouldn't stop ever, not after seeing and finding what I found.
No. Exactly. So
so that's the piece of advice that says like go to the high end areas,
and that's what you would think. Yes.
Yeah. Maybe it was true 10 years ago before thrift stores started realizing that people were coming to flip stuff and started marking up prices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, you know, now I think if you go to high-end areas, you'll find it, and you'll find it for prices that aren't
exactly. You're going to pay more.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I never go to Louisville to thrift because, you know, there are higher end areas there, but every time I've gone and like made a specific trip to do that, the Goodwills are all everything's marked up. Every Kate Spade bag is $40 or $50, and it's not worth the time. It's not worth the gas.
Yeah.
I take the luck
Yeah.
nearby.
So where I moved to now, my Goodwill, my local Goodwill is attached to the Manhattan. It's like the New York City region
Mhm.
Goodwill.
Expensive.
So yeah, so the prices are astronomical, and sometimes I do find some good stuff. I granted, like some of the quality stuff is better, but their prices are just so ridiculous that I'd rather go to a less desirable neighborhood in Philly, and go back and thrift there than
Yeah.
or back to Camden, or some of the places that Lola and I have thrifted, or we have found some real honey holes. So
Yeah.
Oh, I miss those days. I'll get back to Philly someday soon.
I know, back when everything's back to post coronavirus. So another question we have for you is, do you pay up for items? Or we were just talking about that, how sometimes items are, so will you pay up sometimes, and when do you decide that it is worth it to spend more on an item?
I think I will pay up for items. Actually, when I'm like zipping through the store, I go to the specials first because they are very good at what they do in our town, and they know their stuff. And sometimes there's fakes there and stuff, but specials is where I go first too. And I'm happy to pay those prices for authentic items in nice condition. I think my most recent one is
You mean like the boutique section, like
no, a boutique section.
What
They have they'll have it pulled behind the desk.
Oh, like in the case, like behind the counter.
Yes,
Got
that's
it. Okay.
is they call it special.
Okay. Okay.
So that's all they have at ours, and that's where I tend to hit first because they've already done your work for you. I don't mind paying $15 for a pair of Louboutins when I don't have to search through all the shoes. Because time to me means that I can hit more, I can see more, and yeah, if I stay there and flick through the rack for 2 hours, I might find an etro dress or something. But I ran in and spent 5 minutes, got a pair of Louboutins for $15 and can head on to the next one. So it's worth it to me, especially when you're dealing with super high end brands, to pay up for it because
Absolutely.
really,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, you're not paying up that much more for it. Like I got a pair of Prada sandals, brand new in the box, gorgeous. Didn't even know they had the box till I was checking out. $25.
Yeah.
They
See,
sold for 150,
that's what I mean. There's so much profit margin that when you're paying more for that, you're still like, the profit margin is crazy with some of those items. So
It is. So I absolutely pay up. I love when they find it for me and I can just pay them their happy price and go about my.
That's a great philosophy. I think it's easy to forget that our time is valuable, and that the longer you take to get through a thrift store to find items, the less you're going to really make in your hourly, if you break it down per hour, how long it takes you to find, to photograph, to list, to sell, to pack,
Yes.
But
Well,
it also is so fun to find that one dress in the rack of dresses.
Yes. Well, and I think that after a while, you get to the point where you can run your hand across sweaters and you can pull out the St. John, you can pull out the cashmere,
Yep.
So
Yep.
like
yeah,
just
Lola
being
and I.
able to walk down there or look down the pants for things like Lily Pulitzer's, those
Yep.
are going to stick out. There are ways to do it too, but just to maximize that time because it is really valuable. You don't need to spend 40 minutes going through a rack that you're not going to find anything on. Go for where the money is and move on to the next store and move on and move on and move on.
Great advice.
There is so much there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice. Lola and I have talked about that a lot too, where, after a while, after you really get to know, you can just, by feel, by touch, you can learn, you can feel quality. You can learn. We talk about how you should go into some high-end department stores in non-coronavirus times, of course, but you should go into some high-end department stores and look and see and feel the high-end items, and you can really get a feel for. And after a while, you do kind of learn that, and it's you can spot those items much faster.
Absolutely. And that's one thing
I was going to say, even if you have like a Nordstrom's rack or a Saks Off Fit, they have all those super high items. Like I know here we have a Gucci outlet, we have a Saks Off Fifth, we have a Nordstrom rack, and it's in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky. Like, so they're out there, and you can get to it if you don't live in New York or Boston or LA. You can still get to that and get your hands on it.
Absolutely. And I was just going to add that one thing I think everyone should do if they're selling fabric or yarn, things like the raw materials to make items, because if you come across maybe cashmere yarn, then you can really feel it and know what it feels like and learn that way. And it's marked, and it's really easy to tell what it is. And same with fabric, you can learn the feel of silk, you can learn the feel of rayon, you can learn the feel of cotton, and all of that just kind of adds to your thrifting arsenal when you're going through the thrift store as fast as you can.
Absolutely.
So we were talking a little bit about the real and how we miss the good old days of when commissions were much better. But I would love to know more about what platforms you prefer, which ones you've had the best experiences on and the best return, and sort of how you prioritize where you list.
So at the moment, I sell on eBay, Poshmark, Instagram, Kidzen, Etsy, and The RealReal.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. So
I feel like this could be another episode that I would love to talk about, but how do you keep track of all of your platforms?
Push notifications.
Okay.
And Amazon. I forgot about Amazon, but I don't have a ton of inventory. I mean, altogether, I might have 400 items or so between them all. So I think I like to diversify it. As far as luxury goes, Luxury Kids goes to The RealReal. The margins aren't great, especially for that, because they're like $40, $50 items. After they mark it down and everything, you might get $15-$20. But when you pay $1 for a little girl's Catherine Malandrino sweater, $15, whatever. I did no work. I didn't pay shipping, out the door. I also really like The RealReal for really difficult to authenticate things that if you put it on eBay or Posh not so much, but eBay, you risk having a defect come to you, or dealing with all of that, because there's a lot of truth in the luxury market, and fakes and PayPal claims, and there is a lot of liability in there.
Yeah, and you can even get a case open for something that is authentic.
Yes,
that can happen to you too. So
yeah, and there's actually a fairly famous case of a woman who sold an authentic Hermes bag, 5 figures.
Wow.
And this went through the courts and everything, but she lost 5 figures on an authentic Hermes bag that was sold, I believe, on eBay. And it is a tragic horror story, but it does happen. And as a seller, you need to keep that in mind and put it in a place where you have the most protection. So if I were to, Lord above, find an Hermes bag, it's going to The RealReal, no question, because I don't want that liability.
Absolutely.
In the last year or two, I've sold a couple of Louis Vuittons on eBay for the first time, using a paid authenticator for backup. But almost anything that is heavily faked or that someone can think is not authentic will go to The RealReal for me.
The good thing, have you used Posh's authentication service as well? Because anything over $500, they will authenticate, which is also another safety net. You know, I've had items over 500, but I haven't actually sold them for that much, so I haven't actually used but I've sold some high-end items on Poshmark, and it has, you know, it has worked out well. So
Yeah, I haven't actually done an over 500 item on Poshmark yet. So I haven't got to do that, but I'm very interested by it. I listed something on there that I thought was going to sell through there, and it ended up selling on eBay. So I kind of haven't gotten to that tier yet. I'm still pretty new to Poshmark.
Yeah, I would love to hear about someone's experience with that on Poshmark as well. So, if what was I gonna ask? Oh, have you ever had items returned from the Real as inauthentic, and what was that like, or is it?
I have not. I have one that I'm very curious about right now. It's a Gucci t-shirt. I paid $2 for it. And I figured it was probably fake, but I was doing a quick through the store and it was literally $1.99, so I threw it in. But I got home, and this probably goes into more authentication talk, but the tag in it actually had an Italian factory on it.
Hmm.
The RN came back as Armani. Now, some of these factories, they all work together. They produce different brands, et cetera, et cetera. So I tossed in with my last Real, and it's still sitting there pending. They haven't returned it, but they also haven't authenticated it. So I'm like 50-50 if it's authentic or not. And I'm curious to what they say or what they do. But I've had them send back for condition, which happens, and, you know, just out of style, that kind of stuff. And then
Yeah,
just back to you. It's real nice.
I've had they like put them in a little bag, and it's like I've had them send back on condition for me, and a couple of times they've caught stains that like they were really faint. I did not notice, and so it was almost like it was such a nice service, because then I could list them, disclose the stains that I may have missed if I had been listing it myself originally.
Yeah.
And
you can also send stuff back to them after they've sent it back to you.
Oh.
Stain out, or if they say it's like out of style and they don't want it. I had a Prada bag. It was like a folio bag.
Mm-hmm.
And they said it was vintage and wouldn't take it or whatever. But their opinion of vintage is if whoever likes it, when they open your box, they like it. So I sent it back with another big lot, and boom, sold, listed, sold right away. So if they send it back once, try again. It doesn't.
That's interesting. And you can remove a stain, or, you know, repair an item if it has a hole or something like that. So that's a good tip. What about ThredUp locks? I know Lola had mentioned that. I'm
very curious.
Okay.
I think that might be.
I did send in a bunch of things through ThredUp locks, and I was pleased with my return on most of the items, but it was weird how what they accepted under the Lux, I don't know, like side of the site was not completely what they had listed as their brand. So some of the brands I sent in based on their list, and then they accepted it, but they accepted it as like a regular ThredUp item, which then I think affects like your commission, things like that. Yeah. But so it was a little confusing. But I did find that the payout was good. Again, it's like zero work. You know, you put it in the mail, you do nothing else, and it is easy to cash out when it's time. One thing that I think is nice versus the Real is the Real does like one payment a month, but ThredUp locks you can just cash out whenever. So that's a small benefit.
I've sold a lot on ThredUp way back when, but I haven't used it in probably 2 years. I did actually have a local friend who was my daughter's occupational therapist. Come to find out, she thrifts too and sells on Poshmark and everything.
Oh, cool.
She had a really good return on ThredUp locks. So yeah, everything she had sent in sold right away, and I think there's something there.
Yeah, they definitely move items pretty fast.
Yeah.
So that's also nice.
So are there any, I know we've talked about a little bit about authentication already, but what have you used any other authentication services that you and at what point do you say, okay, I know it's authentic, that's good enough? And is there like a tipping point in price, or when you say, okay, I need to get this professionally authenticated to have, to kind of cover my.
I've only paid for professional authentication twice.
Okay.
2 Louis Vuitton items. One of them was a Neverfull that came back inauthentic, which was fine. I returned it to the store because it was a special. It was $25. It was one of the AAA replicas, and I had a feeling, but The other one was a Louis Vuitton for the French company wallet. And the reason I had that one authenticated is because the French company stuff is very weird. The materials are different. It is not the same leather. The leather feels significantly cheaper. The canvas is different. The entire thing is different because they were produced by an American company. And in addition to that, I did a lot of research trying to find like a sales brochure with this wallet, and I couldn't find it. I could not find anything, but I knew it was real because I had found it along with a Gucci billfold, an MCM wallet.
Mm-hmm.
It was real. They were all this vintage 1970s, So I paid for that one because I had it listed on Posh and eBay, and I didn't want to come back. And I use Authenticate for You is who I use. I don't like any of the other authentication services because I've been in this circle over 10 years, like way back to the old CSA boards on eBay. And Authenticate for You is where they have the knowledge and the ability to do it. But I authenticate myself, everything else. And I have been very lucky that I have learned a lot, and thank God, thank the Lord, I haven't ever had one that has come back, as inauthentic. I feel like I've really learned a lot over the last decade.
So do you have any tips for authenticating an item yourself, or what makes you feel confident that something is real while you're in the thrift store enough to bring it home? And then kind of on the same line, if you can just give us some tips, but if you also for beginners, it kind of plays into the authenticating thing for beginners who don't know much about luxury. What advice would you give them as well?
My advice would be to feel the item. So let me talk about this. This was an MCM bag. It's obviously vintage. And in the 70s, like my dress, lower end materials were used. It was back on the specials rack without a tag. And I took a quick glance at it and I'm like, oh, it doesn't look very real. It doesn't have any of the stuff, that it would have if it were a real bag, because it has no plaque, it has no tags, it has nothing. I'm like, it's probably fake. The woman comes back and she says, I can sell it to you for regular price, which is $3.99. And I said, okay, I'll get it. It's fake. I knew it was fake, but it was worth $3.99 for me to come home and take it because it is a $3.99 lesson. I went home with it. I researched. I learned the crap out of MCM, and I did that for $4 because I had this to look at. I could look at it. I could feel it. I could, examine it. You might see it for 5 minutes in a thrift store, but when you actually take it home with you, you can do the research to learn. So for me, that was enough of a price to purchase it and learn the lesson. The only disclaimer I have is never, ever, ever sell it. Destroy it if it is a fake. This will be cut up and thrown in the trash when I'm done with it.
Absolutely.
It's in my closet. My kid's playing with it, whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cause getting it ethically into it's all, child labor and poor working conditions and horrible,
Yes.
Yeah. So
and it ruins
you
the
don't want to support that.
too. Because when fakes get sold, people lose confidence in these online platforms. So the integrity of what we do needs to always be at the highest bar, especially something I don't think a lot of thrifters think about is you are selling to people who are, first of all, in a different price bracket than you and expect a hands-on touch to everything. They expect a service. So you can't just take this Louis Vuitton Speedy and toss it in a priority box and send it to them. You have to take care of it. You have to treat it like the $1,000 bag it is. And yeah, so I think that's just something to really keep in mind as far as luxury is you are really up here. You're not, it might be a $4 bag that you paid $4 for.
But it's not to the buyer.
That this is literally a $6 vintage Louis Vuitton, but it's not to the buyer. It has 30 years of history and it's been handmade. It's been handcrafted. These stitches have been stitched by hand and all made every single stitch hole. Like this is not a $6 bag. This is art in one of its highest forms.
Very good. Yeah, when I sell high-end items, I package them much differently with care, you know, with tissue, with a nice note. I don't like, you know, if I was to sell a $10 fossil bag, then I might just throw it into, you know, a box and just, but not with something high-end.
Let me see if, I think I have this.
So yeah, so I was going to ask if you have items that you can show us, which you're doing right now.
I will show you. Okay, so my holy grail of holy grails was a Prada fairy bag.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's
wow.
It's James Jean art. In love with it. I have wanted it since the day it came out. I got very lucky and found this on eBay for significantly less than it ever sells for. But I was going to show you. This is what the professional companies send there.
Okay.
It comes with their own certificates of authenticity. It comes with, oh, here, there's my receipt from it.
Okay. So this is from a seller on eBay.
Yes.
And this is how they present sort of a higher end experience, even though it was on eBay.
And I used to do some of this when I was doing it full time. I don't anymore. But, you know, with your itemized receipt in a pretty envelope with all the authentication, you know, and that's really what these people are expecting, are you to care for their thing. Like, this is a piece of art to me. This is something I wanted for a decade and I will have it the rest of my life. And, you know, you might find that in a thrift store and be the person selling it. So keep that in mind because, yeah. Here, they even bubble wrapped my authenticity cards because, yes. So yeah, I think it's just really important to understand that you're in the luxury market and you can make so much money here as long as you do it with that in mind.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And all of that, even though the presentation was so wonderful, it can't cost them that much money to do that, to buy the envelopes and to have the cards printed, which, you know, you could do online fairly cheaply. And
yeah, I used to
mile is really worth it.
What I did with my items, I used to have tags printed up business card size with my name and contact. And it kind of was like tri-purpose because not only did I would attach them to the garment. So not only would I have my brand on there and my information, but I also put on there that returns were accepted with this tag still attached. So I got a lot out of that 5-cent card that I spent because it upped my presentation. It protected it from being worn and returned to some extent. And it also branded me. And, you know, that was like a 5-cent thing that I did.
Did you actually get like a tag attacher or did you just? Okay.
They're very cheap. They're like 15. But you need to learn to use them because you can damage garments without it.
That was my next question. So you attach it somewhere discreet on a tag or?
They need to go in at a seam.
Okay.
So a shoulder seam or under an arm is the best place for it. I sell at kids consignment sales too, and I use that. And you have to put it in like up at the shoulder seam or else a woven you might not ruin, a knit you're going to ruin for sure. So yeah, you need to be very careful with the tagging gun. Don't go buy one tomorrow if you've never used one before.
That makes a lot of sense and is great advice.
Yeah.
So, how do you find the current luxury market versus the vintage luxury market? And is there a difference in price or what's worth picking up at the thrift store?
I like vintage significantly more because, first of all, the ratio for fake and real is much better for you. Because fakes didn't occur in a grand scale until like circa 2000. Paris Hilton, all of that really upped the fakes because that became an image and people really wanted to keep up with that. So there weren't a large number of fakes before 2000. They were there because, I mean, this is one, but they weren't in as large of numbers. So I like vintage for that. I also like vintage because everything is so well made that you can still carry it, you can still use it, you can still. So you might find something vintage that is not of high quality and it's going to wear worse. It's going to. So the vintage market really relies on the luxury because these are the items that are left. And they sell better too. They sell a lot better because, first of all, you have the companies themselves rebuying their old pieces, which happens quite often. You have companies buying them, fashion companies buying them to use for design purposes. You have Hollywood studios buying them. You have vintage collectors buying them, and you have consignment shop owners buying them to sell. So there is a much wider market with vintage designer because there is just so much more market there. There are so many more buyers for it.
That's super interesting. So I was actually going to ask that next, is if it's the same clientele who are looking for the new versus vintage items. And so obviously, no, that's a different group of people.
For sure. I've done a lot of selling to like Hollywood and New York City and all of that because there are some more predominant ones that I'll actually buy for because I know they buy their old stuff. Ralph Lauren buys all their old stuff. Lily Pulitzer, things. There's a few that buy a lot. So they might not be entirely luxury, but a Ralph Lauren Blue Label from the 80s that's super super beautiful and couture, et cetera, et cetera. You have Ralph Lauren collectors, you have Hollywood, and you have Ralph Lauren themselves rebuying their old stuff. So there's this huge market there. But with newer stuff, it's a lot of new money purchasing. And I find that in the luxury market, there isn't a high standard place between real and fake anymore. And it's bothersome and it dilutes the market. I don't think that all buyers are like that. But there are definitely maybe younger buyers that don't see as much wrong with purchasing authentic versus inauthentic.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think the people who are looking for these pieces secondhand are people who are looking for specific pieces that they missed when they were in stores, or are they people who couldn't afford it full price and are looking for a less expensive way to enjoy luxury?
I think both. I think especially right now, like streetwear is very into like this Gucci look from like the 90s. And it's come back and it's new, and Alessandra, whatever, is like, really pimping this. And so, but the problem was that it was really heavily faked then and now.
So you could have a vintage fake piece easily.
Yes. Yes. These sweatshirts that say Gucci on them. Okay. So they made authentic ones in the 90s. They made fake ones that were sold on Canal Street in the 90s. But now you've got them coming back with current Gucci and a huge influx of fake ones. And there is almost becoming an underground market for the fake ones. And that's not any
pop.
Yes. I mean, there's an entire store not far from me that is selling vintage streetwear, but they sell fakes and they're open about selling fakes. And that end of the luxury market really bothers me because you are dealing with so much corruption and it just loses all your integrity. So God, it's a Pandora's box. It really is.
It is interesting how complex this is, though, because it isn't just one type of buyer who's looking for a luxury, luxury at a eBay cheaper price tag. It is collectors. It is history. It is all of these trends coming and going. It's
yes.
really,
I mean, and then I haven't even mentioned it. Like you have the people that are buying for collections because museums now have fashion collections and, their pieces like when I die, I want my collection passed on to the Cincinnati Art Museum, and this piece could easily be displayed there because this is the kind of stuff that is getting displayed in museums across the country. So you also have curators that are buying these things off of eBay to put in their collection. So yeah, it's this huge market. It's huge, but it is incredibly complex as well.
It's cool though.
Yeah. Which is why the Real makes it really easy because you
let them do the dirty work. Yeah. So you showed us one of your holy grails that you were able.
That's what I was gonna get. Yes.
One of your holy grails that you were able to purchase. Is there anything that you haven't found yet? Like, what's your next big item that you're hoping to find?
My next big one would be a fairy bag in leather. So this is the canvas. I would like a leather one. But those are current. Prada just came out with another James Jean collaboration maybe 5 years ago, and so they're all high again. They're very expensive, like $1,500, and special needs mama here doesn't have $1,500.
Well, if either of us ever find one at a thrift store, we will go to you.
Oh yes, my goodness, yes.
Are fakes out there? I found 2 fakes at the thrift stores. So.
Wow. Okay, good to know.
Yeah. So that would be it. Other than that, I have all my holy grails. I have a Marc Jacobs stamp bag, which was my first holy grail. That was bought at a consignment store, and then I thrifted this one too.
Wow.
Wonderful. So I really have everything that I want, aside from that second fairy bag. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to discuss that we haven't touched on yet?
I don't know. I don't think so. No, nothing I can think of.
Okay. Well, we are already running over an hour, so probably a good time to move into our final segments. And as always, we have our market report, and we do have two of Stacy's recent sales to discuss as well. So I think you're up first, Stacy.
Okay. So I think I mentioned that I'm into the kids end of things too. And I found this at a kids consignment sale.
Huh.
So I never shopped them before until a couple of years ago. And yeah, I started hitting the purse racks first. And I found this one at this sale as well as a Kate Spade bag. I think this one was $6 and the Kate Spade bag was $4. It was listed for less than a week and sold for a $30 offer.
Not bad at all.
Yep. And then this one was funny. So I'm a huge Studio Ghibli fan. I love Totoro. But I got this as well at a kids consignment sale a few months ago. And I brought it home. My husband's like, you have them all on DVD. Why did you buy this? And I'm like, oh, well, it's a different release. I want to watch it. And I looked on eBay real quick and I'm like, never mind. I don't need it anymore. Listed it and it sold in 24 hours for that.
So is that this specific release or any of the Totoro?
That specific release.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it sold too quick for me to actually watch it and see what was different. It's a 20th century release and Disney had them for a while. So most of the copies out there are the Disney release, but this is the 20th century one.
Very interesting. Another example of how knowing the details of a collector's market will help you find the easily overlooked scores.
Yeah, like I think any Tortoro is probably worth like $20, because they're all discontinued. But yeah,
But not 60. But if you're paying $2, a $20 return's not bad.
yeah, especially for a quick flip.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And Nate, your scores are, or your sales are both luxury related. So that's cool.
Yeah. So I happened to sell these yesterday. They were Manolos, and I sold them for $98 plus shipping on Poshmark, and I paid $20 for these. I did get them on shopgoodwill.com, but I won the auction for 20-ish. It was like maybe a little like 21 or something, but it was like a little around there. And I sold them for $98 plus shipping. And I did pick these up at my local store, so I didn't have to pay for shipping on the auction. So
that adds up so fast.
exactly. And my other one is this Brahmin bag. Now I was hoping to get more on this, and I don't know. I had it on Posh. I first listed it very high on Posh, like hundreds.
I remember when you found this, and we were so excited, thought it was going to go for at least a couple $100.
Yeah, and it sat and sat and sat for like a year. I would get like, I didn't get offers. I got likes on it. So I finally put it up on Mercari, and someone offered me 64, and I felt like it was low, but I took it because I just couldn't move it. So I don't know. What is your opinion on that, Stacy?
I would have sent that to the Real.
Really?
I bet that they would have. Probably would have been a 250 bag there, just shooting numbers out, and then you'd get a 50% cut of it. Or
yeah, that's what I next time, I should have asked you about it, but it just sat. I just could not move it.
Yeah, and that's funny you say that, because 250 was my guess when I saw you.
Yeah, and it was a beautiful bag. The leather was just so buttery, and it kind of broke my heart to let it go for $64. But again, like I had it sitting for like a year, and it just couldn't sell it. I kept reducing. I kept lowering the price on Posh. No takers. It was like, so.
Maybe I think that brand might be losing a little bit of its
Yeah, because I looked up a lot of comps, and they were selling in like that range. It was like, and it was missing the handle strap, like the long strap, but other than that, the condition was pretty good. So
yeah.
Okay, so my sales are not as impressive, but I had two sales that are also sort of on a theme. One of them is this pair of balls of yarn that I got in a big lot from Shop Goodwill. So I don't know exactly how much I paid for it per item, but almost nothing, because the yarn I wanted in that lot was different yarn, and I'm just kind of selling what I didn't want to cover the cost of it. So this was, I maybe paid $30, and then this, I took an offer. I think it was like $450 or something. It was almost full price. And then I also sold a book on Amazon, which I totally forgot that I had even listed these things on Amazon. I got the email, so thankfully I was paying attention. And it was a book from another lot that I had bought on Shop Goodwill that I had gone through the book. It was all a bunch of knitting, crafting books, and I kept the ones I wanted and then listed the ones that I didn't want on Amazon. And so I don't think I'll kind of make a profit overall, but basically I'll be able to get my money back and have gotten the stuff that I wanted to keep for free. So
I do the same thing with lace yarn. I buy lace yarn, and sometimes it's mixed in with the yarn, and do the same exact thing. And most of the time it ends up paying for itself.
Nadine, do you want to do the market report, and then I can pull up some of Stacy's solds, because I did forget to show some of those items. I mean, not market report, the news segment. Nay, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, my child was being loud. But yeah, I wanted to show some of the examples of the sales that Stacy had sent us. So yeah, if you can pull those up, I'll do the thrifting news. So we have our thrifting breaking news segment, or breaking thrifting news segment. And this is really tied into luxury. And so the first thing is that Neiman Marcus has filed for bankruptcy. And do you have the stories there, Lola?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, so that's the first thing, that Neiman Marcus filed for bankruptcy. So that's interesting because we see, and Nordstrom as well is in trouble. I think they're closing some of their stores. So that's kind of a little bit alarming, because those are some of the really high-end stores that sell, the department stores that sell the high-end luxury items. And it looks like they're having financial issues right now. And the other news story that we had was about luxury, that it's not doing. Yeah, so Neiman Marcus, there's the Neiman Marcus story. So yeah, so I don't know. What do you think about that, Stacy?
My first thought is I need to go hit Nordstrom Rack out in Louisville in a few weeks if they're shutting down some stores, because those will be lit for a while.
That's right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't ever seen a dip in the luxury market, even through like the 2008 recession. I think it's still there. I think that we're starting to see the effects of online shopping.
Yeah.
Really hit brick and mortar. And it's just as easy to go to the Real and buy the pair of Prada shoes for half the price as it is to go to Neiman Marcus. So I don't know that it'll necessarily impact us. It might.
That's interesting. I know my first thought was, okay, maybe this means that more people are looking to buy secondhand instead of buying new.
Well, and that you've got the whole sustainable thing. And, that's another big part of why I do this, is because I feel like I'm pretty green, and I like keeping things out of landfills, and I recycle and all that. So, I think there is an end of that people are starting to realize. Maybe not so quickly with the luxury, but like with fast fashion, and those images that all go over the world of all the trash and the cut up clothes, and I think people
totally
are realizing it to some extent.
And that's one of the Real's marketing sort of methods too, is to not market it as, oh, this is cheaper versions of the high end items that you like, but this is a way to enjoy luxury fashion and stay green and environmentally friendly. So
absolutely. And like, I have people that look at me like I'm crazy because I carry designer bags. I always do. We live in an apartment in a not so great part of town, but I carry designer bags. My Prada backpack that I wear almost every single day, I paid $25 for on eBay.
Wow.
And I've had it for 8 years, and it was used, and it is still used every single day. It gets thrown on the floor at school. And it still is there, and it still looks great. And I think people are realizing that they can buy quality at an affordable price and have that item, rather than going to Forever 21 and buying 6 purses in a year. Yeah. Because that's starting to matter.
Yeah, definitely.
So so this story is saying that jobs are, as fashion and luxury sales fall off a cliff. So I would say that not the secondhand market, but I would say that this is probably affecting more like the Neiman Marcus that we talked about. And
I think Italy has been particularly hit hard with it
Oh, that's true. Yeah, and a lot of
I think this article does go in a little bit into the production of items and how that's impacting the luxury.
Workers have been furloughed, and
dying can of worms because of all of the factories in Italy and the populations there. But I think that serves a significant part of this as well.
So we'll have to keep an eye on it. But I am kind of sad that some of those, like about Nordstrom and Neiman having some issues. We'll see what happens.
It just feels like Filene's basement closing again. Did you guys ever have those?
Oh my, of course.
Yes, I do remember Filene's basement. Absolutely, yes.
My favorite.
Yep. Okay, so Stacy, real quick, I know you
Mhm.
shared some of your high-end solds with us, and I thought maybe we could just chat about them briefly, since we've already gone pretty far into this episode, but it's such great information. Definitely don't want to miss
You
that.
have some of her solds that you
I
can.
do, yeah. So
Yeah, if we could just show a few of them, and because she does have some great ones there.
okay.
Okay. So this is really interesting, actually. If you have the other Yves Saint Laurent shoes, I picked these up at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Sent them both to RealReal. They got sent back. So I listed each of them to Posh and eBay. eBay, I believe, is this one. It sold for $60, and then the other one sold on Posh.
Oh no, those are
For
no. Sorry, I just have these up in Messenger, so I can't flip through them as
all out of
easily as if
order.
they were in but
Either way, they sold
okay.
for like $119 on Posh, and I thought that was such a huge difference because they're very
Wow.
similar age, style, size, etc. I'm happy with $60 because I paid $3.99
There we
for
go.
them there.
Yep.
But yeah, $119 on Posh.
Wow.
Yeah, so that just shows you like what difference.
Between platforms, absolutely. Yeah, we talk about that a lot, how you can get completely different prices for items on different platforms. So you need to do your research across platforms.
Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely.
What time
I
of
was
year was
thrilled,
it?
but
Do you think the season impacted the price at all, or
what was that?
did the season impact the price at all, or did you sell them kind of back to back?
They sold within a week or so of each.
Wow.
Okay, wow. Yeah.
I don't notice a lot of seasonal differentialities in the luxury market. They seem to buy year round. Yeah.
And then some bags.
Oh, God.
Oh, Fendi.
That bag. That was a $3.99 find that I walked past 2 or 3 times on the Goodwill wall of purses.
Wow.
I was so ashamed of myself. Yeah, I love that Fendi bag. It was in absolutely pristine condition, and you can see how much it sold for. My cut was over $200, like $275.
Oh my gosh. And that's with paying very little, doing almost no work to send it into the real.
Exactly. They got what, $425 for it, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, it cost me nothing because they cover shipping too. So you do nothing except sending it right into them. Yeah, that was a fun find.
Oh my gosh, this is so cute.
I love that tie. My husband loves dragons, and he almost stole this tie.
I would have kept it, and I don't even wear ties.
Great, yeah.
So
yeah. So that actually was a return that I made a mistake on. It had a very, very minuscule pinpoint mark on it. I sold it for like 60, sent it back. The guy was not happy, which I understand. They're very finicky buyers. They expect a level of quality. I took it back happily, listed it with the flaw, and yeah, got more for it that time around.
That's a great story.
Yep. And it was like $1. Maybe they're $1.99 at Goodwill. Ties are always. I send a lot to RealReal now because it's easy and they flip Hermes ties.
Really. So that would be like high-end Hermes ties, not just any
Hermes ties.
No, I mean, but like any other brands.
Oh no, they don't take any other, which kind of frustrates me. Like Dior, they won't take Dior or Balmain or.
Okay.
They send them all back.
Yeah, I sold an Hermes tie on Poshmark for. I think I sold it for $100. And one of the things that I know about the Hermes ties now is that inside there's a loop that you can authenticate. It's a loop of a string that if you turn it inside out, that loop should always be there.
Yes. My husband actually, he has an interview this afternoon, and his tie is an Hermes tie that doesn't have the loop. So I have had to fix it for him. So yes, like the loop was cut out on that.
Oh, okay. But they should, yeah. That is a good point though. The loop could have been cut, but
yes,
if there is a loop, then yeah, that's.
But if the loop's cut, the tie will be half fallen apart. So
yeah. So my Hermes tie that I sold on Posh had some condition issues. I disclosed them fully, and I still sold it for $100.
Yes.
And then so
Wow.
this is the French company Louis Vuitton that you mentioned
Yep.
earlier.
Yep, that was the 15. I paid $15 for it at Goodwill. It was in the case with a Gucci wallet that was trashed. I still spent 15 on it or whatever, and an MCM wallet that was in pretty rough condition too. But that one was perfect. Whoever owned it must have preferred the other one's style. They were billfold style, trifold style, and yeah, that one was near perfect, and that's the one I paid for authentication on. But it sold on eBay, but it sold so long ago I couldn't pull up a sold on it. But it sold right around that price. I think $450.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah. So you've sold some, amazing stuff.
Hmm.
The Gucci bag there. And the Gucci
The
floral.
red one? No, that's a Ferragamo.
Yeah.
That's the Fendi. That's your recent sold.
It was a Posh.
Oh, that's cute. That's a girl's.
Yep. That's $1.
There we go. This is the Gucci that you're.
Oh, wow.
This was the holy grail. I found that.
Wow, look at that sale price.
It did not sell for that.
Okay.
It did not sell for that.
It still sold for a lot, I would imagine.
Yes, because I could find nothing on this bag. But I found that, the Louis Vuitton wallet, the Gucci, and the MCM wallet all within 2 days at separate Goodwills. But I have a feeling they were probably the same woman. But this one's really interesting because there's nothing like it out there. Absolutely nothing. I had to do the restoration myself on it. And I took an offer of about $500 on it and paid like $15.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so surprising because I would think that a print that distinctive would have some information about it on the internet somewhere.
Well, it's Gucci Flora, and Gucci Flora always sells for super high prices. It was designed by Vittorio Aconaro, and his designs are, if you get anything 70s print from Gucci, it has Aconaro's name in it somewhere.
Okay.
Ah, interesting.
So the Flora bags always sell for money, always. But this particular style, I could find nothing like it because all of them were those very standard, like 80s shapes.
Yeah.
With the long handle and, just those awkward, weird 80s shapes. So with this being a design that was so modern still, I shot for the guy and, 500 was fine.
Wow.
Still a great flip.
Yeah. I sold that your Fendi bag was beautiful. I think I had showed it on one of our shows as one of my solds. I found an authentic Fendi in the bins.
Nice.
It was a Zucca bag of vintage bag. Sold it for $300 on Posh, and it was from the bins.
Fendi's an interesting one because their leather is very low quality.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure about the authentic, but then I researched. I did not have a professionally authenticated. Did my research. My first instinct was it's real.
Yeah.
Then I did my research and I knew that it was authentic. Sold it on Posh for $300. Took an offer, and the crazy thing is, it was passed over in the bins. It was after the swarms of people had already come through, and I think they just assumed it was fake, or they.
And it was like at the bottom. It was like the drag of the bin, and it was
and it was still there. So it's.
I believe it.
You never know. It's always worth looking.
Yep. Great sales, though. Great. Sharing those.
Thank you so much, Stacy. I feel like I've learned a ton. Definitely feel more confident picking up and selling some of these high-end items now. And I also will probably come to you with questions if I do find them.
I've definitely messaged Stacy with some questions. And I do have to ask you about this.
Yes, I can't wait. Like, I was going to say, I live this. I love this. This is my passion.
So when I brought up the serial number on it, it does bring up that style bag.
Ooh.
But I'm still not sure because it's got there's a little bit of cracking on the handle and stuff. So I'm not 100%, but it looks.
Do you see what terrible condition this is in?
Let's see if I can grab it without knocking everything over. Yeah. So
This crack. Louis Vuitton leather is actually one of the lower end ones. They don't use a nice lamb leather.
So it doesn't feel but it definitely has. It has all of the hallmarks, like the little. Everything says Louis Vuitton on it. It's got, but if you can see here, this on the strap, the leather is cracking. So I'm just not you know, my first instinct was, oh my gosh, I think I have a real one, but see how the
Okay, open it up.
Open it up. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do this a lot.
So here's
But
the
I bet
zipper.
we can figure it out.
Here's the zipper.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So it is. Here's the interior.
Okay. Where's the date code stamped? It's like the velveteen, correct?
Yeah, it is.
Is it suede or
It's
the
in
weird
here.
velveteen?
It's here. Let me see.
Ooh. What all does it say there?
It says RA 1780003. When I pulled that up, it did bring up this style, but I'm just
They should be six. They should be 2 letters and 4 numbers.
okay. So it's probably not because it's 2 letters, 4 numbers, and then there's another 3 numbers.
I've never seen it with the other 3 numbers. Normally that should be stamped inside a crease in that weird velveteen.
It's inside of it's like in the seam of it, but it's got like the tag there. So
It's normally stamped not on the tag, like into the velveteen, because it's really weird.
Yeah.
And I actually couldn't authenticate those bags until I went to a local consignment shop and saw one and like got my hands on one.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make you bigger, but I'm not sure if I know how instead of me because I'm the first person on here.
No, I can't. Yeah, it's not.
I'm happy to take a look at it afterwards. So.
Yeah, if you could. I mean, it looks good to me. It's like, but I just don't know. It's definitely vintage, and if it is a fake, it's a high quality fake. But again, they were made, so
they were. Actually, my first Louis Vuitton I picked up at that back in Massachusetts was one of those like gray area real or fakes.
Yeah.
And I ended up crashing it because I'm pretty sure it was. But they get really good. Louis Vuitton is so hard. It's awful.
it is. It's definitely the hardware is heavy on it. It's not. It's just. But again, they did make some good. Oh, there we go. That's how.
Yeah, but that's me, not you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know. Okay. But yeah, so we'll have to do some more digging on this. But
good.
I just if it's real, then I'm going to be very excited. But I did get it at Goodwill. I think that they assumed that it was fake because it was like priced at like $4.99 or something. It was just like with all the bags. But sometimes that's the best way to find them. So
it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And actually, funny enough, the Christian Louboutins I found I don't know 3-4 months ago. I found them with a AAA replica of a Louis Vuitton black epi letter. And I bought it and I brought it home and I had to authenticate it and take it on back because. Yeah.
So this is an example of one that because it was only like $4.99 or something in the thrift store, even though I was on the fence, I was like, this is worth the education.
Exactly.
So that's why I got it. Yeah. So.
Exactly.
Okay, Stacy, that was so cool to watch.
This was a great education. Thank you so much, Stacy. And we are going to have you on again because we want to have you on about to talk about kids clothing in the future. So look for another show with Stacy and we're going to talk because she not only does she sell kids clothes, she sells like phenomenal
way more valuable than I would have
just sold a dress for like $150. Yeah, I mean, we're not talking like $10 kids clothes. We're talking amazing, so.
But kids clothes, it's both ends of the market. I sell a lot of $10 kids clothes.
Yeah, bread and butter, but you do sell you get a lot of amazing scores too. So
I know they're so fun.
So will you definitely come on again?
Yes. Yes. As long as you guys don't mind that I'm so wordy and can talk forever.
No,
actually, this has been awesome. I mean, usually we don't, we try to keep it to an hour, but I think
we never actually keep it to an hour, Stacy. You've seen our shows. We get pretty verbose as well.
But this was great because, to have a guest, that knows so much about, and I hopefully everyone got an education and an idea of, you know, and again, like, don't be afraid to bring it home. You can always, you know, pop into the thrifting board if you have something really cheap or you find it in the bins. Like Stacy said, it's a learning experience. So
Yes.
yeah.
And you can message me on Facebook. I'm happy to authenticate via Facebook. And no, I won't charge for it because I don't want to have to take out an insurance rider, but I'm happy to help you.
So yeah, so we don't have her Facebook, but she is
Yeah.
Stacy Faraci on, did I say your last name right?
You did. Yep. Faraci
Yeah.
liked it.
Okay. So it is, that sounds like such a luxury designer name.
It does, right?
It really does. It's like, it's so she is on, and she's in the thrifting board. Definitely tag her in any luxury item because Stacy is our resident thrifting board luxury expert. So, and yeah, so this is where, so Stacy, do you want to tell everyone where we can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Tahana Kids Vintage on there, and it's all kids and it's all vintage. On Poshmark, I'm Tahana. On eBay, I'm Raven's Muse because it's my husband's old account. And email is tahaname@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
And then as always, you can find us some of those same places. We're Thrifty Nay and Run Lola Run on Poshmark and Depop. Nay is Thrifty Nay and I'm Lola Thrifts on Instagram. And we are also both on eBay. Nay is Colbray Dazzle and I am Lo-Fi with 2 dashes between the low and the fi. And you can also email us at any time with feedback, ideas, suggestions for guests, anything that you would like to see on this channel at naylothrifts@gmail.com.
And we do have a question for you as well.
We do have a question. So let us know in the comments down below what your best luxury find or flip, or maybe it was both, has been, and let us know how you found it, you know, how you authenticated it, the whole process. We'd love to hear all of those stories, and we love reading your comments. And so we hope you will like and share this video, and see you next week.
Say hi.
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 Bye.
He's been so patient. Yes, he's been good.
Okay, we'll give you your mom back then. See you all next week and happy weekend. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Bye.